In this video, we're going to take the first step in working with the jTIPS well log modeler, and that's to import an LAS file. When the jTIPS well log modeler pops up, this is the primary interface that you see. Now, the first thing we always want to do is be able to import an LAS data file. There's a nice button at the top that says LAS data, add LAS file, or I can click on the icon here in the toolbar, and that will take me to a file navigator, and I can browse on my computer network, and I'm going to pick the LAS file that I want to import and begin the model. Now, once I do that, I notice that this parent-child relationship shows up here under log data. It's LAS file 1, and here are all the curves that came in that LAS data file. Also, as a point of reference, along the bottom, what we call our status bar, it just tells you the name of the file that you're currently working on. So if you ever take a screenshot of your model, you know the source of that data. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at some of these curves that come in here. And we're not actually displaying them yet. And the reason being is we need to let the jTIPS well log modeler know what these curves actually mean. So we have this little orange yellow flag next to each one of these nodes, and if I hold my mouse over it, it says no jTIPS parameter assigned. Although there's a mnemonic or parameter in the LAS file, there isn't one that jTIPS knows about. We're not going to assume that a DT mnemonic is always the sonic. So how do we let jTIPS know that? Very simple. We can click on the node, and we can always go to curves properties. And if I do that, I'm going to click on the parameters list inside of jTIPS, and one of those is sonic, and it's units or microseconds per feet. So you may ask, well, how did I know that? Well, the mnemonic from the LAS file is shown up here. The LAS units, the description, and the range of data are also shown here. These aren't editable. These just comes in from the LAS file, and it gives you a nice point of reference so that you're telling jTIPS that yes, this is a sonic curve and its units are microsecond per feet, and you have a high level of confidence with that. Once I hit accept, you'll notice that the node changes here and it says sonic, and the DT mnemonic where it came from is shown right there as well. The other thing you'll also notice is that yellow flag is still there, only now it's telling me that it contains missing data, that we need to fill that, or may need to fill that. We'll touch on that in a subsequent video. One of the other quick shortcuts we can do whenever we want to look at the data, if we click on the LAS file node and we hit View LAS File, up pops a window with the information. So this is the well information from the header of the LAS file, the curve information, and any other parameters that we might have in here. If we had deviation, inclinometry data, that would be in here as well. So this is nice that we can always quickly take a look at it and see. So I'm going to assign some more parameters to some of these other curves. And again, I can click on it and go curves properties, or you can always right mouse on the node and hit properties as well. And again, it pops up. In this case, the GR tells us the units and the values. And we're going to tell jTIPS that that's the gamma curve. And then I've got NPHI. I'm going to click on that. That looks like it's our neutron porosity. So I go down till I find neutron porosity, and these are all alphabetically sorted, so it's not that difficult. And its units are either decimal or percentage. Now this is why it's nice to have the data range down here, because it's telling me it goes from 0.1 to 0.9. So it's a decimal value as opposed to a whole percentage value, which would go from like 0 to 100. Now I'm going to hit accept on that. And the next one that I'll click on is the resistivity. And then finally wrap it up with the next one. Oh, sorry. Make sure I click it properly. Row B, it's the bulk density. And I'll click on that, and that's in grams per cc. And I hit accept. All right, so now what I've done is I pulled in some of the curves that we'll be using in our project to model this well log curve from the LAS file. I have not touched the LAS file, and we never edit the LAS file. We don't actually import the data. We just make a reference to that curve and read the information in as we need. So now last thing we're going to do with this step is I want to save the project. Okay, so I'm not saving the LAS file. What I'm doing is saving the pointer, the reference to that LAS file, as well as the assignment of the parameters that we've just put on here. That's the information that gets stored in the jTIPS well log modeler file. So I can go to File, Save As, or I just hit File, Save since it's a new project. And I'll give it a file name that I've just started called Test Project. and I'll save that. If it exists, I overwrite it. Again, not overwriting the LIS file, just the project file. So now I've set there very simply imported the data file and assigned these parameters to it. When I close jTIPS well log model and open up again, it's going to come right back here and remember exactly the project information I have. In the next video, we're actually going to start displaying some of these curves and seeing how that process works.